Good evening and welcome to Upzone, where understanding politics is made simple. Today we are here to talk with candidates running for City Council and Mayor of Fayetteville. Municipal elections will take place on November 4th, 2023. However, the mayor, District 2, and District 5 city council seats have more than two candidates running for office. As a result, we have a primary. One stop or early voting begins on September the 21st. One stop voting or early voting ends on October the 7th. Early voting or one stop voting for the primary will be held at the Board of Elections Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Saturday, October the 7th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. On primary day, October 10th, you must return to your assigned precinct to vote. Thus, today, we have a forum. Our candidates for District 2 have been given the rules of engagement and will now have 1 minute to introduce themselves. We will start with, here on my left, Miss Echols.
Hello, my name's Janine Ackles Dublin, and yes, I am your candidate for District 2. I have been here for about 22 years. I've raised 4 children here. I have a blended family now of 8. All of my children graduated across the river. One of the things that I talk about for my candidacy is going to be advocacy, because all of those rules without people having rights, it's really nothing. It amounts to nothing. So it's your rights, our fight. That's what we're talking about now. So we want to make sure we take care of all of our vulnerable populations and those who don't have anybody to advocate for them. Again, my name is Janine Ackles Dublin. I am your candidate for District 2.
Mr. Davis.
Yes, so my name is Malik Davis, and I am a candidate for District 2, right here for the city of Fayetteville, North Carolina. And my campaign is always all about bridging the gap between politics and people, giving the people's voice a seat back at the table and into the rooms that can change their everyday lives. And I'm born and raised on the east side of Fayetteville, graduate of Cape Fear High School, graduated high school, and went immediately to the workforce. I currently hold a position in the District Court Judge's Office as a court assistant under the leadership of Tony S. King. During my time of working, I also serve on the Millennial Advisory Commission, which the city provided. The mayor and city council saw a loss of the young millennials leaving the city, and so they decided to make a board to help bring the millennials back. And so I serve on that as a chair for a little bit of my term. I also serve on Fascinating Youth Children's Museum Board. Also serve as the Young Democrats Vice Chair, and also serving in the juvenile mentorship program here in Communicare. There's a few things that my campaign stands for and believe that it's time for in District 2. For one, it's time for good young leadership to step up and make a positive impact into this community. Number 2 is increasing the quality of life for all the residents in District 2 and giving them the resources that they need for their everyday lives. I want to, oh, my time is up, sorry.
Miss Ingram.
Thank you. Happy Thursday, everyone. I am Councilwoman Shaquilla Ingram. I'm honored to be here with Upzone this evening. Once again, I'm Councilwoman Ingram. I represent District 2, Fayetteville City Council. I am born and raised in District 2. I went away for a little bit for school and experienced life as a transplant in another city. I came back and I was ready to serve my community. As I go into re-election, I look forward to reinforcing efforts to address our housing crisis, combating, youth and violent crime with the council, and working to create a safe environment where, residents are proud to call District 2 home. I say all the time that District 2 is a city within a district. We have the highest population of the districts in the city, and we are home to economic growth in the city. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to jump right into it. Here's your first question, and we will start with Miss Ingram,
Yes.
and then we'll go around the table, okay? So City Council just tabled the public comments on the Youth Protection Ordinance 17-34. A press release by Cape Fear Indivisible, Fayetteville Freedom for All, and Say Yes to OCS shared some food for thought. A 2016 analysis pulled together 12 studies and concluded that juvenile curfews are ineffective at reducing crime and victimization. Fayetteville Police Department chief could not answer questions about how much of a burden this new ordinance would place on officers and resources, and more importantly, he had not talked with DSS about the logistics and the implementation of the ordinance. So, how would you vote on the ordinance, and please explain your vote?
Well, I think right now, so I'll say I did vote to move it forward in full transparency. We are due to have a conversation on the ordinance this coming Monday. And I will say everything takes a process and everything takes a conversation. And so given where we are, given what I've heard from my community partners, and given what may be due to come to the council, I can't necessarily say if I would support it or not support it in right now, because we are due to have another conversation of it come Monday. But I can say within its current form, there are concerns that my community has addressed with me, and I am looking for more conversation on it. But I will say this. It has been a conversation starter, not just for the council, but for other entities within the city and the county. And I'm glad the conversation has started in reference to our juveniles. Thank you.
Mr. Davis.
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm a part of the juvenile mentorship program with Communicare. And so knowing the children that are growing up in this community now, I will vote no for the curfew because it's not going to work for them. I believe in helping them find what their purpose is so that we can better change their mindset about certain situations that they find themselves in. I'm all about helping them find their purpose over putting them in handcuffs. I do not believe that it will be effective for this generation that's coming up.
Ms. Evans.
Yes. As far as the curfew is concerned, first, just mentioning to everyone, my personal opinion about the curfew is not maybe the opinions of everybody or all of the constituents. So I like to let people to know that, because when we are in a position to vote, we have to take in consideration our constituents. So with that being said, I personally myself would vote no for that curfew, and simply because there's no solution. It's sort of like you're putting a Band-Aid over the boo-boo when you really need stitches. There's so many things, so many civil rights issues that you need to look at, personal issues. Why are you stopping people? There's a lot that goes into this curfew. And also, a lot of the things that I'm hearing is that, children shouldn't be out in the street, and they should not. But most people's children, if they've been raised a certain way, they're going to be home at a certain time at any rate. And those who want to get out there, they're going to leave anyway. So we have to see. And back to the part about the solution here, the solution is if we're not going to criminalize them, and all we're going to do is just say, hey, go on home, or we're using manpower that we don't have. Already we're down police officers to do that when they can be looking at other crimes being committed, or either we're giving them the notion that, hey, I'm only going to get a slap on the wrist. We don't have to worry about that authority. So there are a lot of things that we need to look at when we're working with these, working with the curfew. So right now, I would tell you no, because there's not enough data to support that it would be a good idea.
Okay, thank you. So our next question, we'll start with Mr. Davis. No one likes paying for parking. It is an added cost when you're downtown. However, we do know that parking brings revenue to the city, yet it can have a negative impact on businesses downtown, particularly small business owners. So what changes would you propose to make parking a win-win situation for the city and for business owners downtown?
Well, I had a conversation with one of the business owners downtown, and her concern was that parking was an issue for her business because people didn't want to park and pay to get out. So I would of course, do analysis with the business owners downtown and then come up with a solution that will best fit. And so I would feel like we would still need to charge because we are a growing downtown, and we want to continue to grow and build ourselves to be like other downtowns that we've seen. And so at this point, I don't know exactly what we would do, but I know that we can get analysis from all of the business owners and go from there.
Okay, Ms. Eccles.
As far as the parking is concerned, I do believe if you're going to have paid parking, then the business owners should be allotted a certain amount of parking spaces that belong to their business, because I can see that being a deterrent for people not wanting to park there if they have to pay. So that's one of the things, if there's a way for us to come up with a plan that could include that, and maybe in some of the things that they're doing, and also employees that park downtown as well. There are some that do have to pay still, or they have the parking areas where they're still paying. So I think that is something for discussion. That is something where we have a lot of room for improvement. And also, we're not the big city yet. So we do have to look at things on a different level. We can't run everything as we've seen other cities do, because we haven't been successful in some of those things. So I do feel like as far as parking, we do need to find, I'm not saying we can't have any paid parking, but I am saying that it needs to go back to the table, how we're paying for the parking, what we're paying for the parking, and who's able to park without having to pay.
Okay. Next question.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Councilwoman Shaquilla Ingram here. Okay, so about last year, the council actually worked with the Downtown Alliance in Cool Springs district to look at what was going to be a sweet spot for the businesses. And so we ended up coming to some kind of middle ground where we got paid parking up until 7 p.m. I think. I was pushing for 6, but the council ended up going with 7 p.m. And your max is $5 a day. And so I will say the city doesn't create that much revenue on parking. If me personally, I would go probably lesser than that $5 minimum. But I will say where we currently are kind of was the sweet spot for meeting in the middle with the merchants downtown. We do have a program where employees downtown can get parking passes monthly for the parking deck. If anything, I think we could revisit about how much it is costing them, especially within a restaurant-heavy area, what their salaries are and what that looked like. So I will say, I think we kind of did hit the sweet spot. However, no one likes paid parking. I personally don't like paid parking, but for where we are and where we are to go, I think we kind of hit a sweet spot with it. Thank you.
Okay. Now I can move on. And we're going to start with Ms. Eccles. Okay. So as an elected official, you are elected to speak for the people. regardless of whether or not they voted for you or not. How do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process for the city of Fayetteville?
Engagement is everything. One of the things I pride myself on, even right now, is just going out into the communities. It doesn't matter which side of the river you're on or what type of neighborhood, just being out in the communities, speaking with people, talking with people. Sometimes I'm just in the stores in the areas just finding out some of the issues, going to the community watches. That's a big thing. And the areas that don't have community watches, to go out and find out what are the issues and why there are no community watches in the area. A lot of it has to just deal with, and if I am sitting in that seat, one of the things is making sure that the information is disseminated to them correctly, because that's a big issue right now, information dissemination. Many of the rules and many of the laws and things that are coming up, the ordinances and things that are happening at City Hall, they're just not getting out to the people that they're actually affecting. So we have to make sure that we're getting in all of these places, whether it's making sure that letters are put in the schools so that they can send them home with the children in their backpacks, or going out setting up different activities or events. We have a big district. And so we do have to make sure that we are involving all of our residents, not just part of them, whether they're unhoused or whether they are in different areas. We have to make sure that everybody has a voice. And that is what I plan on doing, making sure that their rights are there and that we can make sure, like I said, your rights is going to be our fight. It's not about me. I'm just here the representative. I'm just here to represent what you need.
As I stated earlier, my campaign is all about bridging the gap between politics and people, because oftentimes we see issues with not getting the people's voice on certain issues. And one of the things my campaign is about is engagement. And COVID has separated us. And so there's been a lot of separation amongst the community because we had to. But it's time to bring the community back together so that we can come together consistently to come up with tangible solutions to the issues that we're finding in our community. For instance, I have a constituent in my district who has a concern that the crime that's going on in her neighborhood, and that's something that we should be able to help her address. And so that, home should be the place that you feel safe. If you don't feel safe at home, then where else can you go? And so I think, like we've been talking about, engaging, bringing the community back together and actually coming up with tangible solutions. Oftentimes we meet too much and nothing's getting done, but actually come up with solutions to get things done.
Ms. Ingram.
Thank you. All right, Representative Councilwoman Shaquilla Ingram here again. So, one of the things that I said to myself, no matter who showed up, no matter how many number of people showed up, I would do a town hall quarterly. We last had one in June. We're due for another one coming up. I have email. I have phone. I have go sit in the barbershop, hair salon, senior center, and play some bingo. And when I need to, I will pull in a group and I'll say, hey, I need your thoughts on this. I need your guidance on this. I'll even call some former elected officials to get their input on some things. And I'll even, go walk up the street and say, hey, this is what's going on. So I like to say that I try to be very engaged. This is a very large district, and it is very diverse in its makeup. And so what also I recognize is you cannot do it alone, and you should not do it alone. So relying on your community watches, your community watch leaders, relying on the nonprofits that work every day in the community to help get a word out. Thank you.
Okay. So we are now at our closing question. And so what I want to hear from you is, I want you to tell our listeners why you are the best candidate to represent District 2. And we will start with Mr. Davis, then Ms. Ingram, and then Ms. Echo. You have 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. So I know I'm the best candidate for District 2 because I can perform and bring results. I didn't go to college, but I went and started in with my work ethics, and my work ethics have gotten me to positions that some people go to school for. And so, as a person who understands work ethics, I will take that same mentality to the seat that I'm in and go hard for my district, work for my district, and actually bring my district together, as we said earlier, and get answers from them before we making decisions. And once again, my campaign is all about bridging the gap between politics and people, giving the people's voice a seat at the table and into the rooms that can change their lives.
Thank you. Ms. Ingram.
Thank you. I am best candidate because they voted for me twice before, but that doesn't mean that things happen. But I believe that I am the best candidate because I am of this district. Not only am I of this District 2 in the city of Fayetteville is a transient community. As I stated before, I lived as a resident in another city, making myself a transplant to understand what other needs people may have. What I like to tell people is I may be your representative, but I'm your everyday neighbor. I am your voice at the table, and what you experience, I experience as well. And I have proven to deliver results for not just District 2, but the city of Fayetteville as well. And I'd like for you to consider for me to keep working with you and for you as your District 2 representative. Thank you.
Ms. Echols.
Yes. I believe I am the best candidate for this position. Leadership often involves experience, wisdom, and knowledge. Those are key things that we all need in a leader and someone that's going to be representing us. While I did not grow up here in Fayetteville, I raised 4 children here who went to school right at Cape Fear, all of which are productive citizens of society. I have a nonprofit here that I founded, which was the Cumberland County Community Watch Coalition. It's growing in leaps and bounds. We are around working in different areas, working with our vulnerable populations. One of the things I tell people, they want to know, why did you run again? I'm always going to run until I get where I need to get to. Winners are not quitters, and I'm far from a quitter. I kept my promise. I told those that I would keep advocating, and I kept my promise. I'm still here. I'm here to stay, and I'm the best candidate for the job. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for participating in this forum today. And we look forward to seeing how it turns out. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. And we will be talking with 3 additional candidates who are running for District 2 City Council seat. We will get started. Our candidates have already been given the rules of engagement. So I'm going to give you the first question. We're going to start with Mr. Marshall, then with Ms. Morfesis, and then Ms. Musler. Okay? So your first question is, I'm gonna, let you all introduce yourselves first. So you'll have 1 minute. I was ready to jump right in. You'll have 1 minute to introduce yourself, okay? And we'll start with Mr. Marshall.
My name is Larry Marshall. I'm a veteran, and I'm running for City Council District 2. My main objective is to be there for the people.
Yes, my name is Gail Morfesis, and I'm just so glad you're so eager to hear from us that you were going to skip right on to the next question. But I want to say that I have been here for 25 years. Fayetteville is my home, and most people around have seen me because even though I have never worked in public office, I have been a public servant the whole time I've been here, working for the Care Clinic, Better Health, and a lot of non-for-profit organizations. So last weekend I did the Lafayette birthday weekend. This weekend I'm working the Greek Festival, and next weekend following weekend I'm doing the Folk Festival, because I believe in order for us to have the city that we need to have and to give everyone their time to speak and to talk with us, that we need to be out in the public, connecting with people, and just greeting them and telling them that we want to hear from them. They're important.
Ms. Musler.
Hello, my name is Laura Rodriguez Musler. I moved here in 1996. I am an ex-military wife. I chose to stay here. I raised my family here. I lost a son here 7 years, 10 months, and 1 day ago to gun violence. So I have a very strong desire to see a reduction in crime here in North Carolina, specifically Fayetteville. Not just crime as far as gun violence, but also human trafficking. And I would like to see us clean up the streets in an overall general way. Thank you.
Okay. So I am going to ask you a question. Again, you'll have 2 minutes to respond. And I'm going to rotate who I start with, so that each one of you will have the opportunity to give a response first when it comes to a question. So I'm going to start with Ms. Morfesis. Morfesis. I'm sorry.
That's
I'm
all
going
right,
to get
honey.
your name right at some point. So we're going to start. You're going to get the first question. So mental health calls involving the police department can be dangerous for everyone. Cities across the country are trying to find ways to eliminate loss of life during mental health crisis. If it were possible, would you support funding a specialized unit to work with FPD, Fayetteville Police Department, to assist with mental health calls versus a full-on tactical police response? Please explain your answer.
Well, I feel that we have different issues in the populace that are causing them to have difficulties with the police. Mental health, of course, is one of them, as well as drug use and alcohol abuse, those types of issues. We do need to reach out to these people, because about 20, 30 years ago, most of us know that people were deinstitutionalized in this country. So they actually took people out of mental health institutions and they put them on the street. This probably was not a good choice, because most of those people became homeless. They actually had nowhere to go. And many of them really didn't even know what to do to help themselves. And some did not have family units that were strong to help them as well. So I have, given a lot of thought to this issue because my husband is actually a physician here in Fayetteville. And we have seen this firsthand in other states as well. My husband's from Pennsylvania, and they had many people released into the population. So I think that in a lot of ways, if someone with a mental health issue sees the police, it's not that the police are there to abuse them. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people do not take the right attitude when they see the police. If I see the police, of course, my parents told me, always do what they say, give them your license, your ID, be polite, and all of that. But if you have a mental health issue, surely then you may just come with fear and you may just fight back. And so these things are very important to consider. However, if we see somebody that has a weapon, and they are threatening their family and others, then we have to act in some way.
Ms. Rodriguez-Musler.
I would definitely support having a joint venture of the police and mental health. If you're having a mental health crisis, there is nobody better to help you than a mental health person with the police support, because in a moment that can go the wrong way and become violent. So the first connect is there with the mental health person, but the police right behind them. I know that the police have taken de-escalation classes. Every single officer in the Fayetteville Police Department has taken de-escalation classes, and that, in my opinion, is a good first step, but we also need to add some mental health specialists along with that to join the police department.
Okay. Mr. Marshall.
Yes, I will agree with that. I think it would be a nice thing to have, because mental health is the main concern that we need to address. And with mental health, the police, they can more do their job better by understanding what, not just going and say, hey, this person is real sick. You don't know if he's sick or not, or what's going on. He may not took his medicine. She may not took her medicine. But you need that counselor with you to understand more of what you're about to do.
Okay. We're going to start with Ms. Rodriguez-Musler. So what's more important for the city right now? Is it building new homes and commercial space, or rehabbing, expanding space, or better utilizing our existing homes and storefronts?
Can I choose all of the above?
All of the above.
I would say number one, the city has only so much space, so we need to utilize the space that we have in the best possible means. However, that being said, we do need to bring in businesses so that we can lower the taxes for the average taxpayer. The more business and economic development that we have, they bring in money, so therefore that will offset the taxes that the people are paying, and I'm all for lower taxes.
Okay. Mr. Marshall.
Yes, I agree with lower taxes also, because it's better. And that way you can, but I'm saying I agree with all three. Building, redoing, and finding more property for the city is a good thing.
Yes, I want to say, first of all, that because I'm a business owner, I see that there is a lot of commercial space out there already that's unutilized, and we need to utilize the space we already have. We also need to rehab lots of buildings around the city, and that's why the city council right now has an effort where they're trying to rehab an old motel to make that into housing for the homeless and a rehabilitation center, et cetera. I think this is a great idea, and I hope that they will follow through with all of the parts of that they say they're going to have, such as counseling, job counseling, mental health counseling, and those types of things. However, I think that, too often we reach outside of our community to get the things that we need, such as construction companies and things like that. And I think that we need to do a better job of looking internally, because we have many great small businesses. We have many wonderful business owners. And I recently was reading a report about a cooperative effort. I also was a professor for UNC and worked for FTCC and the other Methodist and FSU, all of them over the span of my time here. So I think that we need to be searching for those avenues where we can make partnerships, where we can get this work done. One of those involves the use of one of the lumber companies, Home Depot, which offered the supplies. FTC students were working to do the work because they were in a trade school there. And they also used Habitat for Humanity. So the three of them joined together to make a cooperative effort to rebuild some of these spaces. And I think that's wonderful because it addresses education. It redresses these buildings and does other things as well.
Okay. I'll have one more question, and then we'll do our closing question. So the city of Fayetteville and Cumberland County commissioners have missed opportunities for a more homogeneous working relationship. For example, the Cumberland County commissioners opened a new 911 call center worth $17 million without having to increase taxes. The city and the county could have shared the 911 center and cut costs for both the county and the city. What do you think the city of Fayetteville should do to improve working relationships with county government? And we'll start with you, Mr. Marshall.
That's a good question. I think they do need to come together as a group, not just an individual and saying we're gonna do what y'all not gonna do. They ought to get together as a team, because teamwork is better. When you play together, you win. When you don't play together, you don't win.
I absolutely agree with that idea, and I see too often that we divide and conquer instead of unify and doing the work we need to do jointly. This call center, that was just a fiasco. This went on for years. They finally did not work together, and I see that on other projects as well. Right now, they're going to build this new fine arts center downtown, and which is a laudable task. However, when I ask people why they could not use the education part of that building for city and county residents, they say, oh, well, that belongs to the county. You know, I'm sorry to say, but we must work together. If we are going to get anything done for the betterment of our city and our citizens, then we need to unify. We do not need to divide and conquer of every single project, because I see that that's what happens. And the main thing is to open the lines of communication. We have good people in the city and in the county, and those people just need to embrace each other and be willing to talk and see all sides of the issues, so that they don't just say, well, I'm on this side and you're on that side, and it's like never the two shall meet. We need to talk and discuss these issues in a reasonable and adult fashion and see what the best solution is for our city and county.
I think we should be required as a city council to have at least, at minimum, a once a quarter meeting, if not monthly, so that we can ensure that all of our sites are aligned. And it's my understanding that the county actually lost their 911 accreditation, and the city had to pick up that portion of the 911 calls for a period of time. But I see no reason under the sun that we can't work together. We're all adults. But again, we need to have meetings, and it's my understanding that they haven't had any meetings this year, so that's a problem.
Okay, thank you. So, here is your closing question. 2 minutes. Okay, so we will give you 2 minutes for your closing question, and the question is, Why are you the best candidate to represent District 2? And we will start with Ms. Moore Faces.
Yes. Well, my name is Gail Morfessis. I'm, of course, running for District 2. And the reason that I think that I'm the best candidate is because I do love people. I enjoy speaking with people. I want to hear their concerns. I want to talk with them about their problems. And I feel that I can be fair and equitable. I also believe in transparency. I believe we need to be responsible for our taxpayer dollars. We do not need to frivolously spend the taxpayers' money, always seeking out a new opinion from Durham or Charlotte or somewhere else, when we could actually sit together and solve our problems. We must give equitable and fair treatment to all. I have 2 daughters, and I am very proud of them. One of them I adopted when she was a week old. She's an African American girl. She is studied at ECU, and she's a special ed teacher, and she's absolutely wonderful, and she's great. She works in the Cumberland County Schools, and she has my 3 grandchildren, of which I'm also very proud. So if we want to support our children and we want to have a better city, we must reach out and work together for the good of all, not just some, not just our friends or our neighbors, but every citizen in our district needs to be heard from and treated with respect and dignity.
Ms.
Thank you.
Rodriguez Musser.
My name is Laura Rodriguez Musler, and I'm going to ask you for your vote because I know I am the best candidate for District 2. As a mother who has lost a child, I can relate every single day to the losses that we feel when our children are in the streets or missing or just not doing the right thing. I started out pouring a gallon of milk. I used to pour in powdered milk just so my kids would drink it. So I started out barely making it from month to month and have worked my way up. So I can relate to every aspect of all of District 2, from the person that's struggling to get by. I want to hear why. I want to hold town halls. And in my town halls, I want to have no more than 8 or 10 people there at a time because I want to work on solutions towards having a better Fayetteville, a better city, not just for me, but for your kids, for your grandkids. I care. And like I said, I have a unique perspective and I'm open to new ideas and innovative thinking.
Well, thank you. We appreciate the time that you've had. Mr. Marshall, you have your opportunity to give your 2 minutes.
My name is Larry Marshall. I'm a reader, and I represent my community to the utmost. I love politics, and I'm a vet also. So I know what needs to be taken care of when you need to take care of a business. Thank you. And vote for me.
Okay, now I can say thank you
Right.
for your time this evening and giving voters the opportunity to hear from you.
I don't. Thank y'all. Thank you very much.
Okay. Our candidates. All right, so we are with candidates who are running for District 5. And so we are going to, they've all been given the rules of engagement again. And what we're going to have them to do is to introduce themselves. So we will start with you introducing yourself. And what I'm going to do with the question is I'll ask you a question, you'll lead, and then the next question I'll ask, you'll lead, so that you both have the opportunity to give the first answer for the question, okay? So we will start with you introducing yourself.
Okay. My name is Lynn Green, and of course, like you said, I am running for District 5. And I have been in Fayetteville most of my life. I have been, really interestingly enough, a resident of District 5 most of my life. I went to school here, graduated from E. Smith, and still very involved in that community. Love my E. Smith family. I from there went to NC State and Peace College and graduated and came back. And that's one of the concerns I have, and one of the reasons I'm running. I also have owned a business. I live in and I own a business and have worked hard in that business. I've been involved in the community for 10 plus years in economic development, 10 plus years in the Chamber of Commerce, various boards, local volunteer positions. Just always have loved Fayetteville, and have absolutely loved Fayetteville and want to continue to live here. Have no desire to move anywhere else, and this is my forever home. And I think this service over the time that I've been here, it has been great.
Okay. Mr. B.
Yes. Hi, Amanda. Thanks for having me on today. I want to thank Tisha Waddell and Mr. Floyd. So my name's Justin Herby. 2 years ago, I retired out of the Army, and I'm a business owner. I'm a business owner, and I retired out of the Army 2 years ago. I'm a small business owner, and I'm sorry. No, it's
Okay.
everyone's.
We're interrupting you. We're going to start both of your questions over. Because what we need for you to do is turn and face the table because your camera is in front of you.
Okay.
There's a lot of hand movements, and I just learned your name, Amanda.
Oh,
I
that's-
didn't know your name either.
That's okay. That's
Yeah,
okay.
I'd like to start
It
it.
might just be better if y'all look at each other.
Okay.
Okay, that's
Your
fine.
camera is directly in front of you.
Right.
Yeah.
So go ahead and because of the error.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. I'm Lynn Green, and I'm running for District 5 City Council. I've lived in Fayetteville most of my life, and I call Fayetteville home, always have, and I pretty much feel like I always will. I own a business here. I've been involved in a lot of things throughout the community. I am a graduate of E. Smith, and still am very active in E. Smith activities, community days, and all the things that go on at the Alumni Association. I have developed a certain skill set through boards that I've been involved in, 10 plus years with economic development in that forum, and 10 plus years with the Chamber of Commerce, and then various other boards that I've been involved in. And all these experiences have given me opportunities to serve and the skills that I need to help lead the city forward.
Hi, Amanda. My name is Justin Herby. I'm running for District 5 as well. 2 years ago, I retired out of the Army. I'm a small business owner. I coach soccer and baseball at the Kiwanis Center. I'm also a real estate investor, and I volunteer at the Botanical Gardens downtown. I lead educational tours for elementary kids when they come in on field trips. I'm running on a platform of Micah 6:8. Seek justice, love mercy, walk humbly. Seek justice, what that means to me is we need to pay our first responders at least 30% more because they're walking out on us every day. Goodhue, Minnesota, Enfield, North Carolina, police chiefs are resigning, and then the whole department follows with them. If we don't pay them enough, Fayetteville is going to end up without a police force. Love mercy means we got to treat our homeless population with respect. Right now, they're treated like trash and they're not treated like treasure. We need to look at them with empathy, look at them the way that God looks at them, treat them like human beings, and give them the help they need. I'm not saying give them free houses and cell phones. What I'm saying is show them some compassion and give them the social services they need, like counseling. And then my last thing is being a transparent candidate. Thanks.
Okay. So our first question, and I will start with you, Mr. Herbie. The annexation of Gates 4 was a controversial and contentious issue in 2011. Lawsuits were filed, rulings overturned, and a state law basically outlawing involuntary annexation. Would you support the city of Fayetteville using extraterritorial jurisdiction to annex the donut hole around the city? And there's been discussion about the Shaw Heights area. It's particularly that area that there has been discussion about lately. So would you support the city using extraterritorial jurisdiction to annex the donut hole around the city?
It's a great question. No, I would not support any of those ideas. Right now, we already have people in the city not getting the services that they're paying taxes on. The last annex back 10 years ago, we have people still not with water hookups, not with sewer hookups, and they're paying taxes on. I've seen the people go to city council. I've seen community members come up to the city crying because they can't pay their taxes, begging the city to give them the services that they've been paying for. So I don't support any new annexes at the moment. Thanks.
Ms. Green.
Yes, I haven't really thought about the annexation issue in relation back to Gates 4, but I don't think that I would be in support of it. I would have to have some more knowledge, but I think there are a lot of services that we are not able to offer some of the last folks that were annexed into the city, and that is a problem. I think we need to let some of those services get caught up. I know that water and sewer is not even in some of the areas yet and available, but yet they're paying for that service. Trash pickup continues to be an issue. I think it would place more burden on our tax already stretched budget with taxing. With no more knowledge than I have, I think that I would not support it at this point.
Okay. Ms. Green. Overall, crime in Fayetteville has been falling since 2020. The first quarter of 2023 supports that downward trend. However, robbery has increased from 69 in the first quarter of 2022 compared to 72 in the first quarter of 2023. What suggestions do you have to help FPD, Fayetteville Police Department, drive down robbery?
Good question. And I do think that some of the numbers that we hear, I always like to look and see exactly what exactly they're looking at. I'm not any expert by any means on the data, but I know that sometimes it shows that we have reduced crime, but it's more property crime, a reduction in property crime rather than a reduction in other areas. I think that where we are lacking right now is we do not have a big enough police force to do the job that we have tasked them to do. I think that we've come off a police chief that the citizens did not have confidence in. I do support and think that that was one of the best decisions the city council's made lately was the hiring of a new chief and the person that they hired. So in saying that, I believe that we need to listen to some of his ideas at this point. He's relatively new, and work with him and develop programs that give our youth opportunities so that they don't feel like they have to turn to crime. I think we lack programs, we lack opportunities for our youth, and we're seeing that in some of the other crimes that are being committed.
Amanda, we have 52 officers vacancies here in Fayetteville. They graduate from 5 months, they go to the police academy, they graduate 5 months later, they can leave Fayetteville and go work somewhere else within a year for $20,000 more, way easier job, such as Holly Springs, Durham, Cary. It's incredible how many people we pay in the city to train them and then police our streets, and then they just walk away. That January 2022 graduation, there's only 6 out of 12 officers still remaining on the streets from that time frame. We already have enough rules, enough laws in our city. We have to catch and release when there's criminals not being punished for the crimes they commit. They're going to get rewarded and continue and do the same crimes again and then start breaking even larger laws. So the courts and judges have to prosecute the criminals at the necessary level so that the criminals understand they're not going to get away with the crime.
Okay. So, next question. And we'll start with you, Mr. Herbie. So, how would you use the Fayetteville Area Metropolitan Planning Organization to aid in the infrastructure of the city of Fayetteville? The Fayetteville Area Metropolitan Organization's goal is to provide the safest and most efficient transportation while protecting and enhancing the environment.
So just last week at a work session, the Fast Transit System, they did a presentation where they're going to do a direct route bus schedule. So the drivers on these new direct routes will be able to go from the outskirts of the city straight into downtown, and I think it's a great idea. What they left out was the outer belt around 295 and going into Spring Lake. So there's still a couple gaps in the fast system that they need to fill. It's easy to get from the outside downtown, but if you want to go from the east side to the west side, there's no routes right now. You have to go inside and then back out again. And so it's still a little inefficient. And then if you don't have a car, it's hard to get to Spring Lake. So we need a route within the county to go from Fayetteville to Spring Lake as well. That's the two spots where I see the gaps.
Okay. That's great.
Well, the one thing that I do like with some of the bus service and what they're proposing is that I do believe that it is budget friendly. They've planned it out so that it meets needs and is kind of staggered, and maybe staggered isn't the right word, but it has a plan. They're implementing the plan along the way. I do think that it's vital to some of our citizens to have the bus service meet the needs. We have a lot of young soldiers, young families that may not have a car, may only have one car when one person goes to work, and they need that transportation service. It needs to last longer. It needs to be more extended through the day, and they need to feel safe. And again, that goes back to policing efforts and hiring additional officers and being a police-friendly city.
Okay. One more question, and then we'll do the closing. If you could change one thing in our zoning code, what would it be and why? And we'll start with Ms. Green.
We integrated the Uniform Development Code, which may not quite be zoning, but it does have attributes of zoning in it. And that has been to some degree good, but in other areas, it's not been so good. There are places where it just doesn't make sense. It's too much overreach. I'll give you a real simplified example. I own a business in downtown Fayetteville. I'm in an industrial area. It's clearly an industrial area. For a long time, it had a sign that said Center City Industrial Area. So it's clearly an industrial area. One of the things that I have to follow are some zoning rules and more code things in regards to trash cans. And, you know, we've all been through the tree ordinance where we had to have trees on every so often on your business. So, and oddly enough, trees got stolen in front of my business. So, you know, I've seen it all a little bit of it all. But just the simplest of things. I'm in a zoning code, but yet I get a warning that tells me I don't have the trash can, the dumpster enclosed like it should be. But I'm looking down the street that I'm on, and I'll tell you, my business is on Blunt Street. So industrial from front to back. Right near me is a wrecker service who has broken down cars all around me. But yet I get a citation and a warning because I have a dumpster that doesn't have doors in front of it. So some of these things, and when I called and asked about it, it was, this is the rules and we can't deviate. I said, is there any way to get that code changed or get specifics on it changed? And he's like, no, ma'am. So I just think and with what I've seen with the UDO, there are just some things that were great about the UDO, but then there were some things that were not. They were too minute.
Okay.
So, if I could change anything with zoning, I think we have these pockets of commercial areas in Fayetteville, and they're big, but there's not enough of them. And so zoning commercial and residential areas need to be incorporated together a little bit closer. And I'm not saying build another mall in the middle of a neighborhood, or I'm definitely not saying build more gas stations. The young kids in Fayetteville need stuff to do. We need more places like the Defy Gravity, or the new building that got built in the mall. I'm super excited to see the mall getting used again. And there's a few places, but they're just isolated. And so if you live on the east side, it's hard to get to the mall. And if you live on the west side, you're going to get stuck in traffic on Rayford Road before you can find your destinations. And so we just need more commercial spots, and it's going to be difficult because the government can't do much about that except open up those zoning locations, and we're going to have to encourage the investors to build those. The government's not going to build anything for us.
Okay, and our closing question, and we'll start with you, Mr. Herbie. Why are you the best candidate to represent District 5?
I am the best candidate to represent District 5 because, first off, I'm not a Republican and I'm not a Democrat. I'm running as an independent, and what that means is I have no labels behind me. I'm not going to be tied to a party that's telling me what to do. I am making my decisions and when I vote on matters, when I'm a councilman, I'm going to be listening to my community. As an independent, I have a platform of people over politics. I'm tired of the way politics has been run in our country at the national level, at the state level, and at the local level. We have the left and right side literally yelling at each other, and nothing's getting done. We have to come to the middle, come to the table, find where everyone agrees on something, and acknowledge that we're both concerned about the same issues. And what that means is you have to listen to the other person. Right now, no one's listening to each other. So listen to the other people, see what they want, find where you agree with them, and make stuff happen. And so that's why I'm the best candidate. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us this evening and giving Ms. Green the opportunity to give her closing statement. I have done that This is the third time tonight. I don't know why. Please take your time to give your closing statement.
Thank you. Well, honestly, I love this community, and I have Fayetteville matters to me. At the end of the day, Fayetteville matters. It's really about the passion I have for this community. And over the last several years, to me, it's heartbreaking watching it decline. I know that my father and my great-grandfather, my grandfather, my father, all of them worked very hard and were volunteers and set that standard for me. And really drove that home, the importance of pride in your community and pride in yourself and pride in your business. And I've had a lot of great opportunities. I've owned a business. I've worked at the courthouse. I've served on PwC as a commissioner. And with all of those things, I believe that I bring the right skill set to the council to work through any issue. And I believe at the end of the day, we are all more alike than we are different. We have listened to the rhetoric far too long. We are not as polarized as anybody would like us to think we are. And I want to show that and prove that. And that's why I'm running. And that's why I'm the best candidate.
All right. Now I can say thank you for being here this evening and sharing your perspective with the voting community. Thank you. All right, we are now going to have the opportunity to talk with candidates who are running for mayor of Fayetteville. You will have 1 minute to give an introduction in your opening remarks. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that each one of you will have the opportunity to be the first person to answer a question. So I'm going to go around to each one of you, okay? So we're going to start with our opening statement. Each one of you will be able to give a 1 minute opening statement, and we will start with you, Mr. De La Cruz.
Thank you, Mrs. Williams and UpZone for this opportunity to be able to share my campaign and my thoughts about being the mayor. I'm Freddie De La Cruz. I'm an Army brat. I've been in the Fayetteville area since 1975. I attended Spring Lake Junior High, Pine Forest, FTCC, and I'm a distinguished military graduate at Campbell University, and I'm running to be the next mayor of Fayetteville. I've spent 32 years in the Army. I'm married. I've been married for 40 years to Venus Recod. Together we have 6 children and 14 grandkids. And after retiring from the military, I decided that I wanted to help with what's going on in Fayetteville. I want to help unite the city. And I'm running on a platform of safety and security, public safety. I want to help with the issues that we have with crime. Of the 32 years in the military, I spent 5 years in a combat zone as a military police officer. And I believe I'm the best candidate that can help with the issues that we have with regard to crime and the violence, gun violence that we have in Fayetteville. I have a lot of experience.
It's your time, I'm sorry. And just so you be reminded, there is a timer too, so keep a gauge of the time too, okay?
Oh, okay.
All right. Mr. Evans.
Good afternoon, good evening. I am Charles Evans. I am running for the seat of mayor. I am from Fayetteville, North Carolina. This is a lifelong resident. I attended school here. I attended Terry Sanford Senior High School, as well as Fayetteville Technical Community College, and I also graduated from the University of North Carolina, Pembroke. I served as a city councilman for 2 terms, 4 years, and I also served as a county commissioner for 12 years, and I also served as chairman and vice chairman of that particular board. The reason that I'm running is for fairness. I believe that each person should be treated fairly in representation throughout all the governmental agencies here in Fayetteville, as well as Cumberland County. And the reason I mention Cumberland County, because I also believe that when Fayetteville and Cumberland County work together as governmental agencies, it would be great for the entire citizenry that's involved here. There's a number of issues that we have to address, one being crime, one being homelessness, and also our communities. So I want to work to make those things happen for the betterment of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gribble.
Thank you so very much for having me here, UpZone. My name is Quantity Henson Gribble. I'm running for mayor for the city of Fayetteville. I'm from Fayetteville, North Carolina. I graduated from Fayetteville State University, and I also got my master's degree in business administration with a concentration in project management. With those tools for the last 12 years, I've actually been helping people in Fayetteville resolve issues that people may or may not know about it. By me running for mayor will give me the platform to find out what the deeper issues are that concern our constituents in the city of Fayetteville, North Carolina. I'm currently working with our homeless population. I'm concerned about our curfew, and I'm concerned about our youth. And my platform basically is going to be that to include education in the place of incarceration. Thank you once again for having me here this evening.
Okay. Thank you for your introductions. So we'll go ahead and get started. Remember, you have 2 minutes for your response. First question, and we will start with Mr. Evans. The city of Fayetteville adopted the council manager form of municipal government in June of 1949. The city council is responsible for establishing laws, policies, setting strategic priorities, and adopting the annual budget. The city manager is responsible for managing city employees, finances, and resources. The mayor is responsible for acts as the official head of the city government and presides at the city council meetings. Some citizens believe the city of Fayetteville does not use a council manager form of government to manage the day-to-day operations of the city, but has a monocratic mayor and a dysfunctional city council. What will you bring to the office of mayor to restore or reinforce a council manager form of government?
Stability. Because you're absolutely right. You have the manager and council form of government. The manager is there primarily, and realistically, the manager runs the city of Fayetteville, and he works at the will of the mayor and the city council. And by having those entities that you work for, you would have to work together as an organization to do the will of the citizens. And I think that's where the problem exists, is that the elected officials think that the manager works for them. The manager works for the mayor and the city council, but the city council also works for the people that they serve and represent that elected them. And so I would bring some type of stability. And I heard you talk about strategic planning. And I think on the outset, when you're first elected, and before anything go any further with the council, the mayor and the council, that there should be a strategic planning session held to find out what each representative have in store for their district. And we're hoping that they have in store for their district is what the citizens will want them to be. So it's a matter of working together for everyone, from the manager, making sure that he gets the information that he needs from the mayor and from the city council to do his job. And you're absolutely right. It's a manager, mayor, council, government.
All right. Ms. Gribble, same question.
That's a great question. I think we would have to start off with our priorities. I don't think that a lot of people know exactly what their priorities are, not only to the position that they were voted into, but what their priorities are with their constituents. I think that we all have to work together. I think that we have to come to a common ground, and I don't believe it should take years for something to be accomplished. I think a reasonable amount of time is 30 days. I think that we should respect the people that we'll be working with to get these things done. Communication is everything. So as a foundation, it has to be communication. You have to know what your priorities are. As the mayor for the city of Fayetteville, North Carolina, I will not know everything going into the job, but I certainly will know this one thing. I'm going to respect myself. I'm going to respect the people that are on the council with me, the city manager. I need to know what the city manager expects out of me as the mayor of the city of Fayetteville. We have to know what our priorities are. We have to know what our expectations are. We have to put time limits on our goals, and we must work together. Again, that was a very good question. Thank you so very much for giving me the opportunity to answer that.
Okay. Mr. De La Cruz, same question.
Okay, as the mayor of Fayetteville, I understand that my duties and responsibilities are very important in bringing the council together. Mm-hmm. As the mayor, I'm only one vote, and I understand this. And in order to function as a body, you need to be able to work with people and build consensus. And as the mayor, I understand that I'll be approached by different entities, different industries, companies. And as the mayor, I will be able to share this information with the city council people equally, because a city council person has the same power as the mayor, one vote. And each city council person represents approximately 20,000 constituents. And when you neglect to inform one city council person on something that you have knowledge of and not sharing information, then you pretty much neglected 20,000 people. And as a mayor, I believe I'll do a super job at unifying the council and being equal and sharing the information equally. Also, I'll be transparent on everything that I do in the city council. And that will be a promise that I will make. I think right now our city council is dysfunctional. If you just look at the last meeting they had, they spent almost 30 minutes trying to figure out whether or not they were going to fire somebody from a board, which was really ridiculous. When we got crime going on, we got gun violence, we're talking about curfew. They postponed that when they spent so much time on other issues. I think we need to focus on issues that really matter to the citizens. And as your mayor, that is one thing I plan to do, is bring unity to our community. And I'm asking for your vote on 21 September 2023. Strongly consider Freddie as your next mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next question has to do with infrastructure. So there was a lot of discussion in 2021 about Bernhard Capital Partners purchasing Fayetteville's Public Works. An article written May 7th of 2021 by Abby Church of Fayetteville Observer said, and I quote, "From PwC's perspective, BCPM has not established the transparency and trust necessary for PwC to continue discussions or evaluations of this significant financial transaction that would potentially have had implications for decades to come." Question to you is, how would you support transparency in city governing that directly impacts infrastructure, and would you agree to sell PwC or allow a management group to handle the affairs of PwC? And we'll start with Ms. Gribble.
That's another excellent question. As a matter of fact, I actually called the company to speak to the president of the company, and I got the public relations person. I left a voicemail, never gotten any information back from them. I believe that transparency is everything. Right now, PwC is a public business. The only difference that I can see, the reason why they would want to sell the company or bring in another company to manage PwC, is to change the infrastructure. And I mean that by saying from taking it from public to private. And that's going to leave our constituents even further in the dark of what we need to know as PwC customers. I think that as things change, we can't look for a $500 change in our bills monthly or yearly without knowing the reason why. And right now, there's too much gray area in this transaction. Even getting information about the transaction is very gray. So I don't have any support to give by, in reference to selling PwC or bringing in a company to manage PwC. I think that PwC should stay just the way that it is, which is public, not unless the managing company that's coming in is willing to be public and transparent. Transparency is everything, and utilities make up a great deal of what a person pays in their bills every month, second to their mortgage payment. So again, that's another great question. And I think that we should have transparency, and I don't believe we're going to have transparency if we make the transaction to a managing company. Thank you so very much.
Mr. De La Cruz.
With regard to the acquisition of PwC with Bernhardt, I followed that pretty closely. And I will tell you, as your mayor, if someone approaches me similar to what transpired with Bernhardt and PwC, I would have ensured that every city council member that was on the city council at that time, I would have shared every bit of information that I had so they could be able to make an intelligent decision on what was transpiring with this deal. It may have been a good deal, but nobody in the whole council understood what was going on, so it left some kind of void. Now, me personally, I will not sell that hometown asset or lease it for that matter. Now, PwC has $750 million in equity. And just today in the City View article, they're taking out $295 million in revenue bonds to do infrastructure improvements within the PWC arena. And of that, $60 million of that is for utility installations for Phase 5 annexation, that the areas that were annexed in the west. Now, I understand why PWC started charging people initially, $3,500. Now it's up to $5,000 per residence. But now that they have $750 million in equity and they're receiving this bond, there needs to be a way that we need to look about reimbursing those residents that had to pay $5,000. And the residents that are having to pay today and soon coming, if you haven't gotten the mail, you will get a letter from PWC saying you will have to pay $5,000 to have a line connected to your residence if you're not aware of that. So as your mayor, I will do a deep dive on how this equity and this bond is being used and why we can't use some of those funds to run sewage lines to each residence.
All right, thank you. Mr. Evans.
Transparency is the key to success in any governmental agency that you run or any business that you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. To lease, to sell, or do anything with PWC would be a catastrophe to this community. This community have relied on PWC. PWC has built trust with the members of this community. And so there's no need to do anything further with PWC but respect them and pay your bills. Mm-hmm. That's all you do. Now, it was mentioned about the $5,000 assessment that's put on individuals for sewer and water connections in the western part of Fayetteville. This has been going on for a while. And I happened to be at the city council meeting one night when one lady came to the podium in tears because she could not pay that assessment. It was attempted to try to have grants to help those individuals pay for the $5,000, and apparently it failed. But that needs to come back. Those individuals need all the help that they can get to pay that $5,000 assessment. I think it's the responsibility of the city.
Thank you. And our final question before you give your closing statement. So $100,000 from the American Rescue Plan Act is being allocated for the development of an environmental sustainability plan. What elements do you think are going to be the most important parts in the sustainability plan for Fayetteville? And we'll start with you, Mr. De La Cruz.
Well, I think that the water issues that we have in Fayetteville, I would use that for that purpose as much as I could, because I do realize it's a larger magnitude than the amount, but I think nonetheless we need to focus on that, and also I think. Improving our road network, with fixing potholes and relining the roads, something simple, that can be done to make our city nicer. Also, improve our area beautification of our city. I think that would be another area that I would look at. But for the most part, that's all I got to say about that.
I too believe that we need to be more cognizant about our water, especially with what's been going on within the county, and also there's a number of other items that need to be looked at as far as the funding is concerned. We talked about the infrastructure, we talked about the roads, we talked about that, and to tell you the truth, what has recently been done to resurface roads in some of the older neighborhoods is a shame and a disgrace that they would send those individuals out to make a mess like was made in our communities. I don't understand for the life of me why this mayor and this city council is not doing the job that they need to be doing to make sure that our communities are protected and that our communities look good, that will enable the whole city looking good. It's best to be fair and treat everybody with the same fairness across the board than what we're getting done now. This is not taking place, and as your mayor, I would make sure that everyone is treated fair, neighborhoods are taken care of, and all of that will be done by the city of Fayetteville.
Thank you. Ms. Gribble.
Again, that's another great question, and it all goes back to priorities. With the $100,000, I would like to know what are the top 10 priorities, how much money is going to be spent on each priority, what's the start date, what's the end date, what the issues are. All of the mayoral candidates brought up some great points, the potholes, the beautification, and why we should be concerned about how our city looks. For God's sakes, we're the all-American city. But Fayetteville, North Carolina is not looking like the all-American city to me. We're going to have to do more with the $100,000. And I think that what we can see first is what perhaps we need to take care of. Potholes, the roads, this, that, and the other, and not in the priorities that we would like for it to be in, but the areas that are most stressed. So I think that the planning should come first. The areas that are stressed should take priority. How long it's going to take, and exactly how much money is it going to take care of these priorities. Now, I don't believe $100,000 is going to cover it all. It might be more like $1 million, to be quite honest. But if we're going to be the all-American city, we need to start looking like the all-American city. We need to start behaving like we are constituents of the All-American City, that we're the mayor of the All-American City, that we're city council members of the All-American City. People are watching us. So I think that it's going to all go back to planning and our priorities, what's going to take the priority and all of this, the $100,000, and not the areas that we just want to take priority, but the ones that are most distressed. Thanks again. That's a very good question.
Okay. And our closing question for the evening, and we will start with you, Mr. Evans. Why are you the best candidate to represent the city of Fayetteville as mayor?
Because of my heart. Because of my concern and compassion for all the residents here in the city of Fayetteville. I had mentioned to you earlier about fairness. To look at the board that we have now, city council members, including the mayor, you would think that they will understand what individuals are going through in their respective communities, and that they would do something to assist them in taking care of their community, take care of the citizens, be able to express to us what they're doing to make us feel safe in our own communities and our homes. And that's not happening. We're not hearing that. We're hearing a knee-jerk reaction on things that they want to see done or that they would like to try to improve the criminal activity to better the criminal activity that's going on here in our city. You know what? I ride down Mercosur Road and I look over on Jasper Street where our mayor once represented, and that's the worst place of Fayetteville that I could see. Why aren't we spending money to take care of these communities? Why aren't we doing better with that? As your mayor, I will be transparent. I'll make sure our communities are taken care of. I will introduce policies that we can act on to improve how our neighborhoods look. When I was on council before, I did just that. We got rid of some trailer parks because they were so bad. It goes right back to what we learned growing up. Do unto others as you will have them do unto you. And you want to treat people fairly and right. So as your mayor, I would do the very best that I possibly can to treat everybody with dignity and respect. And I would appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Ms. Gribble.
Yes, thank you so very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. this evening. Yes, as your mayor for the city of Fayetteville, North Carolina, I will put the power back into the hands of the people. I see my constituents here as resources. I think everybody can do something. Everybody can bring something to the table. But as your mayor, I'm also going to be looking at things at a different level. So my priorities would be the safety of our community, the safety of our children, the safety of our seniors. We all need to know who everybody is. We all need to communicate with each other. We can't wait for the government to save us. Again, it's going to be us saving ourselves, not me. It's going to be we, and we are our own best resources. I want to thank you once again for having me here this evening. I look forward to being your next mayor for the city of Fayetteville, North Carolina, and have a nice evening.
Mr. David Cruz.
The main reason why I'm running to be the mayor of Fayetteville because I truly want to help people. I really want to help the people that are trying to make a difference in their life, and that's the only reason why I am running to be the mayor of Fayetteville. People who know Freddie know that's the truth. You know, I'm always trying to help somebody with, you know, small business owners, little startups, the homeless, anywhere I can help. I'm very compassionate with people, and that's the reason why I want to be the mayor. I come from a Spanish heritage background, and I hear what's going on in the city from all angles, and I understand some of the issues that are separating our city. And I feel as your mayor, I can bring unity to this community. I want to help. I want to help with the crime and the violence, the gun violence that's happening in Fayetteville. I think I'll be a good candidate for that because of my experience as a military police officer and law enforcement. I want to work with the county. I understand there's issues with the city council and the mayor and the commissioners for getting things done. We spent $7 million for a homeless daycare resource center. If you went and saw that building, you would wonder where in the world does $7 million go? And yes, we're boasting about how many people you feed. Well, there's a lot of churches in Fayetteville that are handing out food in higher numbers than that resource center. So that's not really something to boast about. What I would say is we need to coordinate with the right agencies to make true difference when it comes to homelessness or the water problem that we have in Fayetteville. I have ideas with improving our transportation network. And one of the things I really want to focus on is taking fast and making it fastest. I've come up with a program called Efficient Shuttle Transport. And this program, you sign up for it, and it helps those individuals that are catching the bus to get to work, and it makes sure they get back home. Also will help with the disabled and those who are trying to go to school. So I have a lot of ideas, and I want to help our city.
All right. Thank you so much for being able to share your perspective with the voters when they go to the polls to vote in the primary. Thank you. And before we end this evening, we would like to say thank you again to Upzone, where understanding politics are made simple, and to Mr. Vic Frost of Deep Freeze Productions for making sure that the community is educated on the voters this evening. Thank you.